Good day, Market Chameleons. Everyone joining for the first time, thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon Master and Option Execution Series and Current Trade Ideas with Ryan Mastro. Before we get started, let's take a look at the shared disclaimer. Please be aware that neither Market Chameleon, OptionsRobot, Ryan, or myself are registered investment advisors or broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This webinar, as all our webinars and shows, are for informational purposes only concerning the tools and products. With that, one last look at the disclaimer, and let's welcome Ryan to the stage. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Let me share your screen. There's the Market Chameleon landing page. What do you got for us today?
Tough market, right? We had a little bit of a sell-off here, so it's just kind of run through a couple of charts. Let me do that here real quick, and let me hide this thing, get rid of that. We'll pull up a QQQ just to kind of show what happened today. It was just kind of a gap down day, right? It was really not much going on, where we were just kind of waiting to see really what the market was going to do. We were going to have a follow through the downside, but it just basically was a kind of an indecision day where they gapped it down after kind of a decent week last week. I think the silver was the big culprit, right, in terms of really a lot of the pressure. They gapped up on Friday after the holiday and really started to have a really good move. Over the weekend, the CME basically had increased their margins. We saw more restrictions coming from the U.S. in terms of export. We know China is going to be restricting their exports as of January 1st. So we have a lot going on here. There's a lot of rumors floating around that some fund or bank was taken out in terms of being short. So that's one of the reasons we had that big pop on Friday. Or was it basically why we had the sell-off? Now, I don't really see the sell-off as a culmination of what happened overnight. Maybe that was a little bit of the overnight action. We did get up to 82 and change on the futures on the overnight, so that was a nice little pop, and it basically sold off. So now we're kind of sitting here. To me, I think this is a spot to add. I don't see any reason that, or even what's going on in Asia, the Asian spot price, the difference between where we are in the US and London versus Asia is now expanded almost like $11, which is a historical number. So there's a big differential here where people are still willing to buy in Asia, and because they know they can't get they don't really care about the paper in the US, and that's really what we're doing here with the silver future. So now that the margins are a little bit higher, makes that a little bit more difficult. I would say the physical is king, so I would still be looking at any of the miners, right? A Hecla miner, an HL, CBE, which is another one, a PAAS, another one, which is they own a ton. I think PAAS owns something like 400 and some odd million ounces of silver that they have in their possession. So that is a very, very big deal to be able to have that and carry that forward. So they're going to continue to do well as the price stays up here. Their margins are going to continue to improve. I would say, so I would still be long silver going forward, and gold really basically fell off along with it, right? So they sold into this. You look at platinum and palladium. So palladium got rocked today. You can see that big gap down. This is a gap down here. So this is something I would start to look at. And platinum, which is PPLT, this is another ETF, the Aberdeen Physical Platinum, the Platinum series. So this gap down, I mean, these were just massive gaps, right? These were just incredible when you look at the futures. So this is one that I would definitely be looking at as well. I mean, it's had a hell of a run, but I don't think these are going to continue to drop. I think this has just been absolute slamming of the institutions trying to unload a lot of the pressure there. So let's look at a couple things and look at some names that were coming in. Google was on my radar today. There was some unusual options on that. That's definitely one when you look at, let's see, we'll go over to Google here real quick. Whoops, I screwed that entry up. Typed in Google, there we go. Nope, I typed it wrong again. So to try to fix it. Nope, let's fix it one more time. GOOG, type a little bit slower. So there is Google, which is the C shares. And, this is failing to make the higher highs at the moment, but I think when you look at the fundamentals of the company, they're doing very well compared to pretty much everyone else. So I think this still could be a pop that goes. Maybe you want to look for taking out the highs. I'm not rushing into it right now in terms of, I just kind of drag this. I'm just trying to give you a little more kind of really where pricing is and see how big that differential is. So we had a low here of 294, a high here of about 315. So it's a pretty good range and the movement. I'd probably want to say, if we get back above this high, then you start to play for these highs. If they're going to come back in for this market, we do have end of year markup that could be potential between today and tomorrow. So we'll have to see if they continue to kind of follow through with this, if we can get a settling in. So maybe you want to look at something like that towards the upside. Now let's come back over, look at some of the unusual option volume that did come in today. Obviously, massive volume in the silver SLV. Uranium was getting hit, so that basically moved down a little bit. And we had bear sentiment on that. A couple of those names, just to kind of cover a couple of those. URA is a uranium ETF, and they just don't look great, like a CCJ. Oklo, which is that, if I typed that wrong, that's CCJ. There we go. That's Camco, and doesn't look that bad. But the ones that I thought were ugly today was Oklo, AKLO, taking out lows right down at the 200-day. You had SMR that was kind of ugly. This is another one that was basically just drifting lower, not doing too much. And then NNE, which they're all these nano-nuclear kind of, this is the name of it, nanonuclear. So they're basically small nuclear plants that they're basically trying to get in. I think the problems with these guys is permission and permits to get them into these locations, and they're just getting denied. So we don't want these things in our towns, in our cities, even on the outskirts of towns, we don't want these things. So that's been the problem, I think, with a lot of these. And again, a lot of these stations are far removed from any local area, but then you're getting the state restrictions. So again, this is, I think, the biggest problem with a lot of these names. So I'd be careful with those names. I do think you're going to continue to move higher in uranium over time, but we may have a little bit of a rollover here in the near term, and that's just apparent on what's going on with the URA. We did see some sell-off across the board: Vale, Cleveland Cliffs, Wheaton Precious Metals, bigger names there that have been kind of beaten down, with the silver move here. Service now starting to get interesting, right? There's some paper in here. There was a good amount. So looking back at that one on the chart real quick, that was one that, again, I think it's a really good company, but needs to see something there where we start to move back up. So it needs to see a little bit of love where maybe we can start to see something, right? Start to show me something that, oops, not that, but maybe takes out highs in here. I'm not really rushing to jump into anything right like that, especially with kind of a blah day like that we had today. I mean, today was just, just ugly, right? They rolled over the spiders, the diamonds, your IWMs, right? They were just kind of blah. IWM and diamonds actually closed down towards the lower end of the day, which is not good. Spiders actually gave you spiders and Qs at least gave you a decent look. The semis did okay, right? Comparatively, they got down and they bought those, and that was clearly a big name like NVIDIA. Taiwan Semi, I think, ended up with a positive. Oh, nope, I stand corrected. That ended up with a negative day. AVGO was another big name that we were watching. That was trying to rally. A couple of the names that I think you should watch: MU, big reversal today. That thing kept going nuts. I would think maybe an AMAT would start to move a little bit with that. Other names I know I've mentioned in here: WDC, STX, and SNDK. They were all kind of mixed today, but they are poised for much bigger moves going forward. So I would definitely be watching those as well in terms of names to watch going forward. There's a big silver name there, PAAS. We talked about that, Pan American. I'm just looking down through the rest of this list here and not seeing much that I really want to jump on. This comp has had some really, really big volume, and I found that to be very interesting because of what hit and how it hit. They came in and bought. Out of the money shares, like the 12 strikes. So this could be one from a UOA perspective. Something's going on. So I may use something like a trigger and say, if we can get back through these highs, regardless of what's going on, I'm not really excited about jumping into, like, say, that really far out of the money 12 calls going out several months. But I could be talked into something like taking out the highs here and combining that with the UOA and say, if something's going on, somebody knows something. So I like to do that, where I'll put an entry bot in just so I'll jump into something small. And if it gets back above that, let's say 11.10, I'd add an option. Again, I'm not going to go nuts, probably do like a 10 lot or something like that, and just say I'll buy the 11 calls. They're really, really cheap. So I'll buy them for quick, right? Just say I want to buy, what expiration is that? That's going to be, yeah, I don't mind the 116. So that we can jump into something like that. And again, if it does happen quickly, I want to be able to get out of that quickly as well. So that's going to get me into the position. And then I'd probably want to do something where I would be rolling very quickly. So maybe a 2 rolls in an exit, so that I know that I'm covered. And does this give me stops? Looks like it does have stops in it as well. So that one, if I click apply, it looks like it was going. So click and apply. What that builds for me is just ability to roll up my options if the stock goes up by $2. And keep in mind, it's a $11 stock, so that's a pretty big move. Now I may want to tighten that up in terms of maybe only make it $1, right? Because if it's going to move up by $1, that's a 10% move, 9% move, right? That's still a big move for a stock like that. So something's going on news-wise. So that means it's already got to get above 11. And that means it's got to go to 13. So I may tighten that up going forward. But for right now, I have something in place that it will kind of keep me covered there. Now, let's go back over to the biggest volumes and look at the stocks here real quick for different names. And there's so much. Again, if you wanted to filter through any of these different things, you can. I like to just kind of go through to start. Now, this is just the start of me looking at things. Normally, what I'm going to go through, I'm going to start to filter through and look for different types of things that if I'm looking for specific types of strategies, right, then I'll basically start to dial in. If I'm looking at specific sectors or industries, then I'll start to dial in on things that I'm trying to look for. But just in a general sense, these are going to be your bigger volumes, right? So NVIDIA obviously had a boatload of volume today, but a lot less than its average. So got to keep that in mind, that even though it was up on very light volume, so not a great feel. You had Apple up a little bit. You had Google. This one was basically unchanged. I liked Amazon, even though it was down today. I think Amazon, we talked about this last week, so just kind of running over here to looking at the chart here real quick. In Amazon, I think this is poised for a bigger move. And I think, oops, let me zoom in a little bit on this so you can see a little bit better. And get rid of the volume on this thing. So I think you're poised that you've had like 4 green candles where they stepped in to buy this every time. And now it's not making a higher high yet, but if we were to zoom in and get, let's see if I can expand this, you guys can see this a little bit better. So you can see if I expand this just to show you a little bit more of the scale, that again, great that they stepped in, they came down to the 50, they bought it, they brought it back up into the previous day's candle. Yeah, I would love to see it close near the high of the day, but clearly the market was just getting selling. And keep in mind that as you're selling the Qs, the spiders, I'm not sure if it's in the diamonds, but I know it's in the spiders and the Qs. But you're basically, if you're selling the Qs just to kind of take some profits off the table or trying to get aggressive with position, in essence, they're selling Amazon, right? So that gets stuck a lot, caught up with what's going on in the market, and that's justifiably so. But I think when you look at the chart, again, they're stepping in to buy big wicks on the underside here in terms of the low to the open or the low to the close. In this case, it'd be low to the open for all 3 of these. So I would say something like taking out the high of today would be a nice little score there. And potentially, if we can get through these highs, I think you get a much bigger move. Something like you saw back down here when they really wanted to push this thing, it could get going. So I'd put one in for that. That's 232.60. So let's just do that here real quick. And I'm going to make these available to copy for any of you guys that are joining us or on our service. 232. I'm going to say I want to go a little bit above that, maybe 272. I'll give it like 15 cents, 75. Add an option. I'll do a 10 lot, and we'll do the 232s. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go one more expiration, just because of all the holiday, not having much time. So I'll do that. I'm going to do it quick so I get into it quicker. And then just to have the similar type of action, I want to have something where I can roll. So every $2, immediately I'll be alerted to one, I'm getting in. And then if we are really running, I'll be able to work my way out. So this is going to roll me every $2 on the stock, and I'll be able to get out of those if I want to, or I can pause the bots and cancel bots, whatever I want to do along the way. So that to me is a again, you can see how quick I got into not only an entry bot but a template to get me out of it. And I think that's important for anyone that's learning to trade, is how do you get out of the trades. So just to quickly come back to this screener and just look at a couple other things. Q's Walmart was looking decent. Lilly, I put on an iron condor in Lilly, and just to kind of highlight that in a just to kind of understand why. And Lilly, we've been doing actually really well in iron condors because it's just kind of not moving too much, and we're using this level as a resistance level. So if it does break through here, we'd probably get out of the call side of the iron condor and leave the put side. And the options are just really wide, so you can get very good skews on both sides of this. And then again, you can mimic something. Let me just see if I can show you real quick. Simulate an iron condor for you. This should pop up automatically. Lilly, and let me just see what my strikes were in Lilly real quick. So TB, let's see. So we looked at, so this yellow box that we have on our simulate,
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me? You there? Let me see if I can bring him back. Hold on. Hey, everyone. Thanks for holding on there. Ryan, looks like he dropped. We'll wait for him to come back in. Thanks for coming by and checking out the After Hour Series show with Ryan. He did offer everyone a nice offer for the Chameleon community, and the code is START2026MC, START2026MC, and that will allow any user to get a free 2 months if you type that in. We got Ryan back. Hey, Ryan, I was just going over the offer you offered the Chameleons last week, the Start 2026 MC. So anyone who wants to do that, you're more than welcome to give it a go. And that's a great offer that Ryan's offered.
yeah, we had several of you guys come in and check that out. So that was a good surprise. I mean, obviously, I think it's a really good deal. Get 2 months free. So
yeah, perfect. We did have a couple questions before we.
Yeah, the only cost is if we start using the. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, we had a couple questions from the Chameleons. For some reason, are you frozen again? I can't tell if you're frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got
you. Hear me?
I'm not going to bring your screen up right now. Maybe I'll bring it up in a second.
I apologize. I've had no problems all day long.
Yeah, strange. We had a question from Jim, ASTS and Path. Let me see if I can add your screen up. Yeah, there it is. So the first one was ASTS.
Okay, let's do that here real quick. ASTS. Yeah, so it's been kind of in that stuck in that zone where I think a lot of these names that have been the high flyers, we had really good news last week. Trump came out and was saying there's going to be several of these names they're going to do, or they're going to basically backstop and, part of this program to go to the next level, and be dominant in space. So clearly there's several of these names that everyone kind of latched onto. So I think this was one of those that they really got excited about. And then as the market started to kind of fade, the speculation basically faded quickly, right? They just started to sell right back into this. So I don't mind this from a longer term perspective. If this is going to be one of the winners, then I think you probably want to be stepping in an area like this and give yourself an advantage to jump into this. So I'd probably be looking at that, trying to play for the highs then and get through. Ideally we need to get through this area, retest these highs, and look at it from a much bigger level. So I mean, you've already done very well in terms of the stock over the past year, right? You can see we were down here in pennies, and now you're trading at $70. So this is done very, very well. And again, you just got to be careful that it does start to take out something like the 50-day, that you're not going to get overwhelmed, or you're not going to lose a lot of money. So I would probably be looking at this as a, maybe a call spread, right? Basically reducing as much exposure as you can, or maybe even a call butterfly in terms of that. So I don't mind that one at all. Was there a specific question to that, or just looking at the chart?
No, it was a general question. Your idea is based on the chart. I think for that one, and
the other one was PATH, PATH.
Yeah.
Okay. So PATH, a little bit different. This I think is going into, or is already in, just went into the S&P 400, I believe. So I don't mind this one at all. I like that it's rounding bottom, but again, it kind of sold off today, got down pretty aggressively. So I still don't mind this. I'd probably be looking at maybe a back above the high. My next couple levels, I'd probably be looking at something like that area in there, right? That's like the 1849. I'd probably then look at the high, or sorry, the closes there, and then the high there. So 1930, then 1982 will be the next couple levels where I'd consider maybe a potential roll. Or if you're getting some resistance, that maybe just want to exit the position on those.
All right. Steph was asking about PayPal, PYPL.
PayPal's been a dog. I think fundamentally, I think it's going to be a really good company, especially if they can show that what they say they're going to be able to do is take the crypto and be able to do transactions on those cryptos. So you can basically change in your crypto for any type of purchase. So I like that idea. I just think they have to have proof of concept. Right now, it's just been a bit of a dog. There's not really enough for me to say I want to be in this. We've taken out all this kind of support over here, and the only thing really left at this point is back over here around that 57.77. So I'd probably be a little bit more concerned if it takes out maybe that 58.82 on the way down here. Again, we got a little bit beat up in the financials today, where a lot of the banks, I think at least midday, they were down. I never looked at them at the close, but this needs to get above highs here, like maybe something above like that area right there. That's about 60.18, so 60.16, so something like that. That's the high. You got a couple highs in there, so I would like that. Then that's going to make you feel a lot better that we get some green coming back into your resistance levels. For me, probably something like that area, then probably right about there. So 61.33, 62.03, and then I'd be looking at probably those at that area. So you can see the close, the open, and the close over there. A couple of highs. That's going to be about 62.82 on that one. So next couple levels, again, a little bit tighter than you think. But once you get through there, that's going to make you feel really good. So I'd probably be in maybe a shorter duration call if it starts to pop. And then if it starts to get through here, maybe I want to roll out and give myself a little more time, because that could give you a good positive vibe on that one.
Perfect. We did have one more just straight looking at the charts. Lululemon.
So Lulu had a little pop today on news that I guess one of the major investors, I can't remember who exactly what it was, but submitted three board. Was it one of the founders? So submitted one of the new board members, trying to change things around here a little bit and kind of spark the company going forward. So I think that was a good sign. Basically, they jammed it up. They made it look good. I don't mind the stock here. I mean, it used to be really expensive in terms of, being able to, again, trade this thing back here. We were doing a lot of like call spreads and put spreads because it was so expensive. But this thing got absolutely demolished. It's got a nice rounding bottom. It's starting to look pretty good. Again, from a near-term activity, you're back above the 100 and the 50 way down here. You got a little bit of kind of air underneath you, which is not necessarily the best thing, but you want to get back up through these highs and start to show you that maybe it gets back up through this resistance here, about 215-ish. Then your next bigger target is going to be probably close to that 200-day. So 200-day, then the swing high back there. That high is 225.98. So 200-day right in there, that's trading 224.72 as resistance. So those are my next couple of levels on Lulu.
Now, the last one was, again, a question from this morning for someone who couldn't be on, but they had seen a Copex trade at the end of last week, and they piggybacked a large number of puts traded. He wondered what you thought. He saw it was down this morning, but what you thought at the chart at the end of the day today. Copex, I think that's.
And what's the stock? I'm sorry.
COPX.
COPX. So copper was looking really, really good. And again, I think everything that was metal related got hit. So, I mean, you look at like an FCX, or like a Southern Copper, right? They all got hit with what was going on here. So everything metal related basically got slammed. So I'm not really one to get shaken out of the ETF in terms of, just jumping out. So I would probably still be leaning long on this. I think, again, from the perspective of the bigger picture, I think these are going to continue to outperform, especially your platinum, palladium, especially your silver. And I think your other metals like copper are going to continue to run with this, even though you're near a multi-decade high, right, in terms of going all the way back. I don't even have enough data on this to show, kind of the levels on this. So I should say more on the future than anything else. But this is done very, very well, and I would continue to stay in this. A little bit of a pullback for you. Gut feeling is where you have to have the, kind of that, where do I want to stop myself out and then potentially re-enter, right? So if it maybe takes out the lows, it's kind of lined up with the lows in here. You do have a pretty large gap. So it could be a couple of bucks before it comes back to support. And then maybe you want to wait for maybe a basing formation to re-enter. But I'm still leaning long on these, on all of them, platinum, palladium, silver, and copper in terms of the bigger picture.
All right, perfect. That brings us right up against the 5 o'clock hour. Thanks again for another great series, Ryan. We very much appreciate it. For anyone who's joining for the first time or what missed it last week, Ryan has a nice offer to the Chameleon community or anyone watching this webinar, a 2-month trial with OptionsRobot, and it's start 2026 MC in the code when you go and register. So give that a go. Thanks, Ryan.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Happy New Year.
We'll see you next Monday. Happy New Year, everyone. Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining another webinar series with Ryan Mastro from OptionsRobot. He always brings so much great information and answers everyone's questions. Steve shouts out, "Go Lions." That would be a nice one for the Lions if they're able to do it. For everyone, have a great night. We will see you hopefully tomorrow on tomorrow's pre-recorded webinar that will be going off at 9 a.m. Remember, once again, if you want to give OptionsRobot a try, go to OptionsRobot.com. Go to the sign up, and your code is START 2026 MC for that 2-month free trial. Everyone have a great evening. Thanks for joining. Stay safe out there. Bye.